Are you a new school parent group, a PTO or PTA secretary, and you are now tasked with taking the meeting minutes and you're wondering what the actual heck you need to be doing? That's exactly what we're going to be talking about in today's video. If we haven't yet met, I'm Christina Heideck. I am a longtime PTO nerd, 15 plus year volunteer, and I'm a PTO and family engagement expert. So let's get into it. So the very first thing that you should know is that as a secretary, you probably should be taking minutes at definitely all of the general PTO membership meetings, but the executive board meetings as well. Like if you guys have any summer planning meetings, the purpose of meetings is kind of to memorialize, write down, record what happened at the meeting so that if someone wasn't there, they could look through the meeting minutes and figure out what happened. And you're not going to have to take like a word for word transcription. You are not a court reporter or stenographer. No need to do it word for word, but you just want to get kind of the general gist of what happened. So like I said, that if someone who wasn't at the meeting read through the minutes, they would have a pretty good grasp on exactly what happened at the meeting and they'd be all caught up. So it's essentially like a summary of what happened. And really, when you think about that, then it kind of, I think, eases some of the pressure so that you don't feel like you're unsure about what you need to be including and what you don't need to be including. The easiest way to make this happen is to use a template so that you are following or filling, you can kind of fill everything in little more involved than like Mad Libs. Do you remember the game when you played as a child, hopefully? If you have all of the things that you need to remember on there, like when the meeting started, when the meeting ended, who was in attendance, it's important to know who was in the room so that after the fact can't say, oh, I wasn't given, notice about XYZ. And then you could point to the meeting minutes and say, oh no, you're listed right here, Janice, you totally were there. You had an opportunity to say something and we've moved on. In a nice way, of course, you're going to say that. Using a template will help you not forget the things that you need to write down, basically. The most important thing that you are going to do when you are taking minutes is you're going to be noting motions that are made throughout the gathering. So you're going to want to capture the name of whoever makes a motion, the general wording of the motion, who seconds it, and then the results of the vote. Let's say it's at the very first meeting of the new school year and the treasurer has just presented the budget, and then Casey says, I move to accept the budget as proposed. Then Laura seconds it. So you're going to write down Casey first, move to accept the budget as proposed, and Casey seconded it, and then then you're going to note the outcome of the vote. It is super helpful for the meeting minutes to reflect all of the different motions because that happened during the meeting, because those are essentially the decisions that the group is making. And so that if there is any question about how much you guys decided to spend on Carnival, it's always my go-to example because I just really love that event. But anyway, it doesn't matter what it is. You're going to be noting all the details in the meeting minutes so that it would be plain to see by anybody who sees it, to see exactly what was decided on. And a lot of times, if there's a question about what was decided, then you can always go back to those meeting minutes. So it's handy to have them. One of the decisions that you need to be making when taking minutes is what format you're going to take them. Generally, I don't like hauling around my laptop everywhere. And so when I've been tasked with taking minutes, then I usually just do it by hand. And I've done it a number of times. So like taking meeting minutes a number of times. So I'm fairly comfortable with my general shorthand. And what I do then is I go home usually that same night and I type them up when all of the information is the freshest in my head. And I have just access to that because as like a busy mom, how you can just forget all of the details. Seems like post-kids, a lot of my ability to remember things just kind of evaporated. Like I used to have a vault for a memory before kids, and my husband has so enjoyed that I cannot remember all the things anymore. Do it when you're most fresh, when you are going to remember everything. If not the night of the meeting, then the day after is what my recommendation would be to do, just to get it out of the way too. Then you'll have it done. Because I find when you put things off, it takes 10 times longer than it would if you would have just done it right away. That is really the basics of taking meeting minutes for your parent-teacher organization. It's not really complicated. You just have to do it. And I think that as long as you're getting the gist of things, like I've read through meeting minutes that are using complete sentences. Oh, that's another thing. You don't have to use complete sentences. I don't believe you do. They're not any more proper if it's not a totally complete sentence. I think if you get the gist of it and say, Robin reported for the third grade committee, she reported that fundraising went well, well, that is a complete sentence, so that's not a good example, but I have a feeling you understand what I mean. So sentence fragments, it's okay, because you can just say, vote had, measure passed, instead of saying the measure passed. You get my drift. Anyway, I so hope this has been helpful for you and that you can more confidently take meeting minutes now, knowing all that you need to know to do so, and that you will also join me for my next video.